Hello everyone, welcome to the Tech and Auto Show. I'm your host Manav Sinha and it is so good to see all of you lovely people once again. In case you're new here, well, this is that one show which satisfies your hunger for both technology as well as automobiles at one place, which basically means why should you be watching two shows when you can watch one? This one. Now if you are a regular viewer, you might be noticing that things are a little bit different right now. That's because all of this is being done by myself. So please forgive the production quality that's not up to the mark. I'm trying my best. Nevertheless, the reason why I'm doing all of this by myself is the reason that it's got a lot of people scared actually. It's the coronavirus pandemic. It's surging unlike ever before all across the world. So the natural thing to do right now is to stay home. That's what I'm doing. That's why I'm doing all of this thing by myself. And that's what you should do too. Stay indoors, stay away from people, sanitize. And these are the things that you already know. There's nothing new about what you can do in times like these. It's all about being sincere and doing the right thing. So I really hope that all of you are doing that. Nevertheless, you're here for technology and automobiles, and we've got an action-packed episode for you. So let's kick things off by first showing you the glimpse of what you can expect over the course of the next half an hour. This week, we'll be taking you for a drive in the 2021 Maruti Suzuki Swift. And then we'll talk about the world of gaming by bringing you a review of the Microsoft Xbox Series X. And then we'll talk about how you can bring old photos to life once again. So yes, all of that action will be coming your way, and we're going to start off with the Maruti Suzuki Swift. Now keep in mind, the video of the Maruti Suzuki Swift was shot before the coronavirus surge happened, so every safety precaution was in place at the time of shooting. Having said that, why are we talking about the Maruti Suzuki Swift? Well, for the year 2021, it has been updated, it's got some changes. Let's take a closer look at what it's all about.
Now, Maruti Suzuki has been updating a lot of their cars recently, and the latest car to get an update is the car that we have right here. This is the 2021 model of the Maruti Suzuki Swift, and I know at first glance it doesn't look all that different, does it? But stick with us through this video. We'll tell you about all the changes that the car has got, along with the big one that's under the hood, and we'll find out how much of a difference does that make to the Swift experience that it is known for all across India. Best way to get to it is to get to it right away.
If we talk about the changes on the outside, well, there's not a lot to talk about really, as the changes are subtle. The front grille has been updated, and perhaps this is the only way that you can tell that this is the 2021 Swift, as it now runs a chrome strip on it. Additionally, the grille has a mesh design which replaces the horizontal slats that it used to have. And then you can have the new Swift in a dual tone color option like our test car right here. And well, that's the entire list of changes on the outside. Stepping in, there are a few more substantial changes that you get to see. First is that it now gets the latest generation infotainment system from Maruti Suzuki, which is good to use, and additionally, the top-end variant will come with a digital color MID, which is borrowed straight from the Maruti Suzuki Baleno. The dials on the instrument cluster also now have red highlights on them, and lastly, new fabrics. In terms of features, the Swift now comes with start-stop functionality for better mileage, which is now claimed to be up by 2 km per litre than before. And it also gets cruise control and auto-folding outside rear-view mirrors, which is good. Other than these changes though, the Swift is exactly the same in every other way. So in terms of looks and features, it can be called as a mild update at best, as it still misses out on things like wireless charging and connected tech which the competition offers. The big change, and the only considerable change that makes a difference to the Swift experience, as we said, is the update to the engine. Now the 1.2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine uses 2 fuel injectors instead of 1, which gives it better control on the fueling of the car. The upsides to this is that the car feels smoother and more refined to drive than before. It's also really quiet at idle, and there are no vibrations whatsoever. On top of this, the engine now makes 90 horsepower, which is up from 83 horsepower, which the older Swift made. Will you feel the power difference? Not really, but the improvement in refinement can be felt for sure. Maruti Suzuki has also updated the steering wheel motor so that it now centers properly, but I found it to be intrusive and missed how the older steering wheel felt. Having said that, the changes may be far and few, but they bring important feature updates to make the Swift catch up to the times and do not alter the personality of the car too much when it comes to driving experience. The Swift is still one of the best hatchbacks to drive, and despite having a price bump, is still good value for money.
Now let's move on to the world of technology and let's talk about gaming. You see, with all the coronavirus lockdowns that are being done in place, we have a lot of hands on our time like we did last year, and last year gaming industry saw a boom unlike ever before. But you know what was not there last year and what is there right now? The Microsoft Xbox Series X. Yes, we finally got our hands on that. Shovik, our in-house gaming champion, is telling you more about it up next.
Back when Sony and Microsoft announced the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, the gaming world had a lot of excitement about them. But since its launch, both the consoles have been marred due to a global chipset crisis, because of which excited gamers have not been able to even buy the new consoles. But that's for a different day. When it comes to the overall performance and the joy of gaming on these two new consoles, how do they actually perform? Well, we've already played on the PS5 and we've told you about how excellent a console it is, and it feels like a truly new generation product. But what about the Xbox Series X? Does it offer good enough performance too? Does it manage to excite the gamer, and does it justify its tag as a new generation gaming console that will headline Microsoft's efforts for the next few years? Let's find out in our review of the Microsoft Xbox Series X. First up, let's talk about the overall design of the console. The Xbox Series X does not look as exciting as the PlayStation 5, and well, by now you've seen enough photos and videos of the console to know that that's a reality. Instead, the Xbox looks like a monolith. It looks like a tiny black box that could be anything from a humidifier to an air purifier even. And well, that's actually not entirely a bad thing. It's a handy console in terms of how the overall ports are laid out, but the lack of a front-facing USB-C port does bother when it comes to charging the controller. On overall terms, the Xbox Series X is not a console that's gonna win a lot of design awards, but in terms of functional, efficient design, it is definitely right up there. Now coming to the talk of the hour, which is performance, the Xbox Series X is undeniably as close to the PS5 or as similar to the PS5 as gaming performance gets. Overall graphics fidelity with ray tracing is excellent, and overall smoothness of operations is also quite exciting. However, there are a few key points to note. For one, the PS5 brought in a new interface which looked exciting, which looked new, which felt new, while keeping the overall ergonomics similar and improved. Instead of doing all of that, Microsoft has not tried to fix what was not broken. As a result, the Xbox Series X gets pretty much the same interface as the older Xbox One generation, and as a result, you pretty much feel that you're using the same console over here as well. That's not entirely a bad thing, but if you're upgrading from an older generation Xbox, you are not going to feel like you're using a totally new console. Now, overall load times, shift times, shifting between menus, switching between games and all of that have been improved, but in the general sense, the Xbox Series X does not feel as excitingly fast as the PS5. However, in the Xbox Series X, titles that have been optimized for the new console, such as Forza Horizon 4, do not really load as intuitively or as fast as titles on the PS5 seem to do. It might just be something to do with interface changes or the difference between how the two consoles work, but there is a fine difference in terms of the overall game load times. That being said, the overall games play really well. There is no hitch on performance, the smoothness, the frame rates, the overall definition of footage and videos do look absolutely crisp on the Xbox Series X. And what I'm absolutely impressed about is how silent and smooth the Xbox runs even in long gaming hours. It takes a lot of performance stress to heat the fan and stress it out, and even then the Xbox does not make a lot of clatter and runs pretty silently and pretty smoothly. It is this performance that is going to impress gamers in the Microsoft ecosystem a lot, and I've personally been a big fan of the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate experience. With that, you get access to a whole bunch of games, pretty much all the essentials that you would want to play, and All of that makes the Xbox Series X a console that is very approachable, a console that might actually be a little more affordable even. And with reports of AMD's fidelity effects coming to the Xbox Series X and Series S coming soon, the overall graphics performance might be improved even further. So to conclude, the Xbox Series X might not be getting a very spunky design. It might not have gotten a new interface, the controller remains pretty much the same, and games do not load as excitingly fast as the PlayStation does. But on overall terms, it is an excellent console, and it is a console that if you've already been playing on the Microsoft ecosystem, you would love even more. If you haven't, if you're coming new to the world of consoles, you would still love it because the overall performance from the Xbox Series X remains excellent. From the Xbox Series X, games load fast enough, everything works smoothly, and of course the Xbox ergonomics, the Xbox controller's ergonomics are very pleasant and excellent to use. On overall terms, if you're spending your money for a new console, if you spend on the Xbox Series X, you will not be disappointed because this is a solid effort from Microsoft, one that deserves appreciation for sure.
Now let's talk about memories. You see, bringing old photos to life in terms of photos, in terms of increasing their clarity or bringing color to them, is not something that's new. That's been happening for a lot of time. However, what if you could bring old photos to life in a video format? What if those photos could do some facial expressions and gestures at you? Well, that is a reality now thanks to the developments in technology. What am I on about? Let's take a closer look at what all of this is, how it happens, with us heading over to Darab up next.
Do you have an old photo album lying around that you wish you could bring back to life? Or do you have ancestors who you wish you could see moving just for once more? What if I told you that there's an app called My Heritage which has a feature that brings back old photos to life, just like the photos we remember in the Hogwarts corridors in Harry Potter movies? So deep nostalgia from an online genealogy platform called My Heritage is an AI tool that was released in February this year. So the AI in deep nostalgia uses generative adversarial networks or GANs, which create video footage, or as we know them as deepfakes. A GAN is composed of two AI systems that work together to create content which is eerily similar to the real thing. Now, to create the technology for deep nostalgia, MyHeritage partnered with a facial recognition company called DID, which specializes in deep learning technology. DID uses GANs to animate the uploaded photos on deep nostalgia. So footage of real people displaying real emotions was fed into the deep nostalgia software in order to train the algorithm. So the algorithm can further recognize which of the pre-recorded video best fits the photo depending on the subject's pose. It then adds lifelike movements and natural expressions to an image that didn't previously move. So I tried my hand at bringing an old photo to life using deep nostalgia, and this is how it went.
So the steps to start using deep nostalgia are rather simple. The process involves downloading the app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Then you can upload a photo that you want to animate. I tried with a photo of my childhood, and I must say, I'm not too impressed. Let's try with an image of Bhagat Singh. Wow, Bhagat Singh looks real. He looks concerned about something. Maybe the current state of affairs?
Now, MyHeritage says that the primary purpose behind introducing deep nostalgia was to allow people to see their ancestors and late relatives in motion. While it looks like something that can easily be misused, MyHeritage says that it has several techniques in place in order to avoid misuse of deep nostalgia. Here is what the MyHeritage Director for Marketing, Mr. Rafi Mendelssohn, told us about the data privacy and potential misuse of deep nostalgia.
make sure that we emphasize that its use is for ancestors, not for living people. And also there are a number of other steps that we've taken. For example, the one that you mentioned, that it's not possible to add an audio element to it. Also, every image that is colorized or enhanced or in fact animated through Deep Nostalgia, there is a symbol on the bottom left hand of the screen that gives you the icon so you can see that it's actually been through that change. So the images that are uploaded, like all data that is uploaded to MyHeritage, whether it's family trees or other historical records, it belongs to our users. It's really important that it's part of their family history discovery process. For people to upload their photos, it belongs to them. They have full control over what happens with it. They can delete it, take it off the site. They can download it and keep it and then not have it on the MyHeritage platform. It's completely up to them as to what they do.
Now, while Deep Nostalgia is an interesting tool, the problems that deepfakes present today are very real and form a tricky conjecture in the tech privacy policy, misinformation, and the related factors. Now, can this remain in casual use forever, or will it be sucked into murkier discussions? Only time will be able to tell.
Welcome back. You're watching the Tech and Auto Show, and I'm your host Manav Sinha. Now, before going for the short commercial break, I promise you that once we're back, we'll talk about Hyundai Alcazar. So what is the Hyundai Alcazar? Well, the Alcazar is an SUV. It's a 7-seater SUV, and it is going to be based off of the Hyundai Creta. So basically, it's a larger Hyundai Creta with more features and some design updates. Well, there's still time for it to be launched in the India market, but we got hold of someone special at Hyundai India to find out more about the Hyundai Alcazar SUV. Take a look at how that conversation went.
As you know, Indian customers' preference is very, very fast moving towards SUVs, and Hyundai has just attained a milestone of 1 million SUVs produced in India. We have a very strong SUV range, and we feel now time has come for us to really take a step up and enter into this 6-7-seater SUV space, because there are many customers in India who are looking for an upgrade to a quality product from Hyundai in this space. And Alcazar, with its unique design, with its interior space, with great powertrain options like a 2-liter new petrol engine and a 1.5 diesel, manual and automatic options, will really appeal to these people who are really looking for a lot of versatility in their car, and also it's a driving pleasure. So normally either you would want a driving pleasure in a car, also you would want sometimes to maybe a chauffeur to drive you, and you would want a second row seat which is very comfortable. You want a third row seat where also the teenagers in the family can sit in a very comfortable space. So I think all those expectations would be able to be met by this product of ours. So a typical Alcazar customer will be a male 30 to 45 years old, married with children, and he's of course successful either in his business or at a middle level position in a job, and he's really appreciating those finer things in life. Many of these customers are really looking for an upgrade from Hyundai, and they are really waiting for a 6-7-seater option, and we are expecting them to really upgrade to this car. Then third class of customers could be who are really wanting to be driven by a chauffeur, and they want a second row seat, and they want to really drive in a lot of comfort. They want convenience, they want the gadgets. They also want that sometimes when they want to use the third row, that should also be convenient. It should have a air conditioning of its own. So I think Alcazar will really prove in very, very handy for all such customers. So if you see today, of course, we had 4 SUVs, and now this is the 5th one. And every SUV is really, playing a very, very critical role. Creta, of course, is the leader of the pack, and it has really redefined the way customers really looked at SUVs. And it is, of course, the #1 SUV across segments. The Venue became the first connected SUV. It brought in some great features, Blue-Link connectivity, the ventilated seats, and the Kona Electric was the first fully SUV EV in India. And of course the Tucson, with its global success, really people who have really arrived in life, they see Tucson as, okay, now I deserve a Tucson. And Alcazar, like I already mentioned, is going to really fit in beautifully in our scheme of things, and it is really going to provide that kind of a premium touch to so many customers who are looking for an upgrade and who want their lifestyle to be complemented by a car which will really help them to fulfill all their desires that they have. This is actually very, very surprising, the way, the pace of SUV growth in India. And yes, 13% in 2015, 29% in 2020 in a pandemic year, and 34% in Q1 of 21. So very clearly the market is shifting towards SUV. And you know, even in our Creta and the Venue, what we see is the demand for the high-end SUVs is going up. So customers do not want to compromise on the feature. Like for example, sunroof. Now sunroof is a feature which so many customers want. And 30% customers are really looking for an option with sunroof. Automatics, customers are wanting the DCT, they are wanting the AT. So I think customers are, because they want convenience while they're driving, and they don't want to really compromise on any of the features. And I believe this is something which gave us hope and optimism that you know, and our market research also suggested that not only features, customers are also looking for more space and more luxury, and that is where the Alcazar comes in. And I believe that this will really complete our SUV portfolio and further take our market share up.
And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of the Tech and Auto Show. How did you find the show? Is there anything you have to say, anything you want us to cover, or simply want to have a conversation with us? Well, reach out to us on Twitter, we are more than happy to talk. If it's about technology, you can reach out to us at News18 Tech. If it's about automobiles, you can tweet out to us at News18 Auto. And remember, by logging on to news18.com, you can read up more on both these industries. Well, that's about all for today, but I'm going to leave you with the same message once again. Stay indoors, stay away from people, sanitize, mask up, and stay as safe as you can be. Remember, prevention is better than cure. Well, that's about all for today. I'm your host Manav Sinha. I'll catch you same time next week, only on CNN News 18.